presentation of State of Rail in Michigan by Dr. Joe Schwartz. And he was named the governor's special advisor on rail in 2012. Dr. Schwartz served in the state senate from 1987 to 2002 and in the U.S. House of Representatives from 2005 to 2007. He served on Granholm's Emergency Financial Advisory Panel and was appointed by Secretary of Defense Robert Gates to serve on the independent panel to investigate the conditions at Walter Reed Army Hospital in Washington, D.C. A lifelong train enthusiast, Schwartz has played important roles as a state legislator, a congressman, and a private citizen. Schwartz has long recognized modern and efficient train service as an economic development tool and a provider of jobs. He has advocated for trains as a vital component of a safe, convenient, and energy-efficient transportation system that provides access to business, tourism, and educational venues for travelers of all ages and income levels. Appointed by Governor Snyder, Schwartz represents the public of the Midwest in the State Passenger Rail Commission. Now, once Joe is done with his remarks, we do probably have some time for questions. So we're going to have a microphone here. If you want to ask a question, you can just raise your hand and we'll try to take the microphone. You will have to talk to a microphone because people in the web conference need to be able to hear that as well. Okay? Joe?
Know better.
Yeah, and so I know a good doctor. Apparently not under those circumstances. And you probably wonder what in the world a head neck surgeon is doing up here as a governor's advisor on rail issues. And not an unfair question, but I am a lifelong, not only train enthusiast, rail enthusiast, but student of the rail industry. And that goes back to my my childhood in Battle Creek, where I had to go to the Grand Trunk Roundhouse and ride the engines out of the 6300s out of the Roundhouse with my buddy, the day hostler, Scotty McPherson, at least once every 2 weeks, or I would go and have a meltdown. Yeah, I had to go. I was raised on Fort Custer. My dad was an Army doctor in World War II. And the rail activity at Fort Custer in World War II was mind-boggling. At any time, there were 40,000 troops on the reservation at Fort Custer. Two divisions, the 94th and one that I can't remember, were organized at Fort Custer. Troops in and out, in and out, in and out, all through the entire war. And the most important was that there were 7,000 German prisoners at Fort Custer as well. And they came by train, were housed, actually, those of you who have driven through Fort Custer, in barracks that are still standing, which is now the Army Reserve base on the Kalamazoo County side of Fort Custer. That's where the German prisoners were. They had a soccer game every Sunday afternoon in the parade ground there. And then at the end of the war, all of a sudden, into the rail yards in the Fort Custer complex came train after train after train with the oldest possible available Chicago Northwestern commuter cars out of Chicago. I mean, they were obviously out of the first 10 or 15 years of the 20th century, loaded all the German prisoners back on the trains and back to Germany, and none were lost. The same number, with the exception of some very few, died of disease, and Michigan Historic Point, in the train accident down in Blissfield, where a truck hit a train of German prisoners and killed about 15 of them. They're all buried in the National Cemetery at Fort Custer. With those exceptions, all of those German prisoners were loaded on the trains and sent back. So my background in rail was early and deep, and I enjoyed it. And I could see the crews on the 080 and 060 New York Central switchers working the yards at Fort Custer saying, oh my God, here comes that kid again. But it's true. So my lifelong interest in rail has been an abiding one. I have a summer home on Flathead Lake in Montana, which is in northwest Montana up near Glacier Park, and frequently take the Empire Builder out to that venue in the summer as well. So it's with me. It's part of my blood, and I enjoy it. Michigan is seeing a resurgence in interest in rail. Governor Rick Snyder, who also is a Battle Creek boy, may I add, and if you grow up in Battle Creek, if you don't like trains, you better get out of Dodge, because you're serenaded day and night by trains, especially in the summer when the windows are open. So Rick's a Battle Creek boy. Rick's dad was a Battle Creek city commissioner when I was mayor of Battle Creek back in the day. So he's a very deep Battle Creeker. He understands the rail industry. He understands that there are many things that we can do we probably aren't doing in Michigan. He understands the resurgence of short line railroads. The fact that the short line railroads in Michigan, I think, by and large, are doing pretty well, and business is improving. And Genesee and Wyoming is in Michigan now. Watco is in Michigan. Probably not the way, anybody here from Watco? Probably not the way they wanted to be initially, for those of you who know the story. But, and I think maybe it's how I got into the whole rail thing at the government level anyhow. But we're glad Watco's here. We're glad that the Grand Elk is in existence, running from Grand Rapids down through Kalamazoo to Elkhart. And we're glad that worked out for NS. We're glad it worked out that Adrian Blissfield can run Jackson Lansing now, and on a lease from NS. Still a lease, is it not, Mark? We're glad of that. But one thing we weren't going to have is have Watco own Kalamazoo to Dearborn, because there's no way that that line could have been maintained at 79 miles an hour. And our Amtrak friends over here are kind of shaking their heads, not so anybody can see them, but shaking their heads a little bit. And we would have, ultimately, our Amtrak service, Chicago, Detroit, would have been threatened. It probably would have stopped in Kalamazoo. So we did, how should one say, insert ourselves into the situation and persuaded the powers that be that it was not a particularly good idea for Watco to own that stretch. But absolutely no objection whatsoever with what Watco has done subsequently in Michigan. The big news in passenger rail in Michigan is the acquisition by the state of the former Norfolk Southern line from Kalamazoo to Dearborn. I can tell you that I am pleased that I was part of the group that brought this deal to the attention of the state. And also I can tell you that I think the job that MDOT did, Tim Hefner especially, and others, structuring this deal and acquiring that piece of NS secondary main line, to be sure, by the state, is a good thing and will prove to be a really fabulous thing for the state. Amtrak did a great job in acquiring Porter, Indiana to Kalamazoo, upgrading it bit by bit by bit, as they could afford to do it, to 110 mile an hour, and getting it into the Amtrak dispatch system. And we are hopeful that in time, I'm hopeful in 2.5 to 3 years, we will be able to do the same thing between Kalamazoo and Dearborn, and where it is possible, run passenger trains at 110 miles an hour. Those of you who know the history of rail construction in Michigan understand how that line from about Ann Arbor, actually about Ypsilanti, all the way to Kalamazoo runs. It ain't a straight line, folks. It follows the Huron River, then some more terrain, and it picks up the Kalamazoo River, and it really doesn't break out of that until they're west of Kalamazoo. So I don't know if it's all going to be 110 miles an hour, but that which can be made 110 miles an hour without building an entirely new railroad is going to be that, and we are going to have, I believe, superb passenger service in addition to trackage rights by NS on the line, because there are still some customers on that line, pretty good sized customers. Jiffy Mix in Chelsea, both the Kellogg Company and Post Cereals, and the old Ralston Company, Ralston Purina in Battle Creek, which is now Raw Corp. It makes things like Safeway corn flakes and that sort of stuff, private brand cereal. They are big customers. The liquid sweetener dock in Battle Creek also as well, for all that sugar that you get in your cereal. That's there as well. If there aren't any dentists in the room, so I don't think they mind me saying that. So there are lots of good customers in addition to agricultural customers, etc. Knapp and Milling in Augusta, others on that line, and they'll continue to be served by the good folks at NS. But the state, at a cost, when it's done, of north of $300 million, will be the owner, the operator, the dispatcher, and the maintainer through a contract with Amtrak of that line, and I think that's a good thing. Cranes Business Chicago last week, perhaps the week before, in taking a look at passenger rail in the Midwest, said that perhaps Michigan is now the only show in town. A couple reasons for that. Illinois is being a little bit recalcitrant at upgrading as much of the line as they would like to between Chicago and St. Louis. There's a little bit of a brouhaha going on, which I hope will be resolved between Chicago and Indianapolis, so passenger service can stay on that line. Although, any Hoosiers here today? The new governor of Indiana, Mike Pence, is a guy I served with in the U.S. House. He's a fine gentleman, nicest guy you'd ever want to meet, but he's more conservative than Attila the Hun. And as a result, I'm not sure how easy it's going to be to convince him that the Chicago-Indianapolis service is as valuable as we know it to be. So we'll see what goes on there. The other thing that is changing, as you know, it's been alluded to earlier, is that the best Secretary of Transportation we've ever had is retiring. Ray LaHood is the best we ever had, believe me. He's a Midwesterner. He understands rail. He understands other transportation modalities as well. I served with Ray in the U.S. House as well, and you could not find a finer gentleman. And I only hope that Secretary Fox, his successor, though not a Midwesterner, does as good a job as Ray did. I can't picture a better Secretary of Transportation than Secretary LaHood was. So, railroading in Michigan is doing pretty well. We have some things that we need to do because the way we move goods, the way we move commodities is changing. Yes, we need the new bridge over the Detroit River, but we also need a new tunnel under the Detroit River. The amount of material that's going to travel from ports like Halifax, and if you if you take the ship from Halifax to the UK or to the European continent, you're taking at least a day and a half off the voyage, as opposed to leaving the port of New York or the ports of Newark or port of Baltimore. So there's going to be a lot more activity there. Going all the way across the continent to places like Prince Rupert or Vancouver or Seattle, Tacoma, and then on to the Eastern Hemisphere, to Asia. There's going to be a lot more activity there. And it would behoove us, I think, in the state of Michigan to try to help Canadian Pacific and anyone else interested in building a new tunnel under the Detroit River from Windsor to Detroit and Detroit to Windsor that accommodates double stack. And hopefully, I don't say it's going to be in my lifetime. Well, keep my fingers crossed. It's going to happen, but I hope it does happen and people get on it. It's been talked about and talked about and talked about and talked about. I think the new bridge is going to be a reality, and I hope the new tunnel is as well. The other thing that the state is interested in and that I'm interested in, and I know that the governor's people are interested in, by the way, I should mention that Dennis Muchmore, Governor Snyder's chief of staff, is also a rail buff. He's from Illinois, spent a lot of time, a lot of hours riding the train from one part of Illinois to the other when he was a college student. He's a graduate of Eastern Illinois University in Charleston, Illinois. But Dennis knows rail very well, and I know that when I go to the governor's office and say, okay, this is something we need to think about, this is something we need to do, this is something we need to finance, this is something we need to finance through the legislature, Dennis understands what I'm saying. So there are good people in state government now who want to help the rail industry, and it doesn't make any difference if you're the shortest of short lines or if you're a class 1, Governor Snyder, guys like Tim Hefner, his boss Kirk Steidel want to help, they want to get the job done, and they want to make both the freight and primarily the freight, quite frankly. We understand what railroading is about. They want to make railroading in Michigan the best of any of the 50 states. And as long as I'm able to help promote this, I will do so in the very highly unpaid position that I have as governor's advisor on rail. Thanks very much. If you have any questions, I'll be pleased to try to answer them, and if I can't answer them, I've got Hefner over here, who I know will know the answer. If I don't, and as my good friend John McCain said, if you have any questions, comments, insults, just fire them up here, and I'll do my best. If you don't, Professor, I'm happy to give you back the microphone.
Any questions, folks? We're going to walk microphones around here. Did he scare
Don't
everybody?
encourage him.
Did he scare everybody off?
Just a quick one. I wondered if the state remembers that there is a tunnel underneath the St. Clair River in just south of Port Huron that could be used via the CN line. I wonder if that existing infrastructure would help.
Are you talking about the old tunnel?
Yes.
I don't know what the height of the old tunnel is. You know, the new tunnel is a great thing. I know that the old tunnel is there. I would think it might be better if a tunnel were built in my role as a civil engineer. I think it might be better if it were built from Detroit to Windsor or Windsor to Detroit, and that's what people, of course, have been talking about. And at one time there was supposed to be financing from some of the Canadian government retirement systems and others to do it. And I'm not sure where that is right now, but that's something we should concentrate on, I believe, because I believe that transcontinental traffic from East Coast ports, and especially Canadian East Coast ports across, is going to continue to increase, and it's going to go a different route. It'll get there, but go a different and longer route if we don't have a tunnel, Detroit-Windsor, that'll accommodate double-stack trains.
In the meantime, I don't know whether it's a new tunnel or an old tunnel, but my understanding is you can take containers double-stacked through that tunnel, Halifax, through Port Huron, Flint, Durant.
Well, you can take them through the new tunnel.
Okay.
The brand new tunnel, I was at the dedication of that tunnel, and that tunnel is, what is it, Tim? It's not 20 years, but close. Yeah. You can take to the new tunnel. Right next to it is the old tunnel that's 100 years old, and that would not accommodate double-stack trains.
So we could focus on the new tunnel then, right?
I think we should focus on a tunnel from Windsor to Detroit, and vice versa.
Why not use existing infrastructure?
I'm sorry?
Why not use what exists today?
I don't know that, again, my civil engineering hat doesn't fit. I don't know if you could do anything with that tunnel. Tim?
I believe as part of the permitting for the new tunnel between Port Huron and Sarnia, it was agreed that they would close the old tunnel, so it was a replacement rather than have to go through the whole new environmental impact statement. So that's why they've closed the existing tunnel between Port Huron and Sarnia. And then the Detroit tunnels, the plan right now is that they would build a new tube, larger bore tube adjacent to it. And they're trying to decide what would be the long-term use, if any, for the new tunnel, or for the old tunnel. From what we've been looking at, it's more or less of just having to get slots in a tunnel. Doesn't matter which one it is. So they may be able to work out something where they can go either, you know, if it's a lower bore, go through the old, newer one. But that will have to be worked out in their business plan, because to maintain two tunnels is going to be more expensive than one.
Any other questions for Dr. Schwartz?
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
I think you did a good job of scaring everybody off.